Hey, this is Kumar from Greenville, North Carolina, and we are live on our Facebook group, SGA Ministries. And we used to do this in our Facebook group, Understanding Worldviews. And we normally do it in our Facebook group, Understanding Worldviews. And of course, we're going to try to do it simultaneously, both places. And for now, I'm going to post our videos in Facebook group for the convenience of our audience there. And I'm glad you guys are going to watch this. No, feel free to comment and feel free to subscribe our channel. And also, there is a link if you guys want to join in our Zoom meetings live for any questions or comments. And love to have your thoughts. And Mathews is here, and we have Catherine with us. And what we do in our group, I'm sure you're aware of what we do in this channel here. Uh, we connect with the current events with the biblical perspective. And Matthew is good at connecting the dots, and he has a lot of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And we like to pick his brain as much as possible. And he's written a couple of books. He's an author and publisher and a pastor. And here we go. Yes, Matthew, welcome. And Catherine, welcome to our YouTube channel here.
Thank you, Kumar. Thank you, Catherine. I would say this is primarily because of your vision and your interest, Kumar, that we are able to do this, and certainly Catherine's encouragement and engagement. So we live in interesting times, to say the least. The most important three things that I would make as an observation is uh, we are not sure exactly what is going on as the news reports come. The southern part of Syria, there was a Druze gentleman who was traveling from Damascus, I believe. Sweda is in a city where the Druze are a majority in Syria. It seems that a couple of people got together and robbed him. At least that is what the story is. So the people who robbed them were Bedouin, as Arabs say Bedou. So the Bedouin are people, they live in tents and they kind of obey the rules of the desert, and they're not very organized the way we think, but they're very organized in their own way. Anyway, it became a shooting thing between the Druze and the Bedouins. So the Bedou basically got supported by the Syrian army. And you know what is going on. We covered this in the, what do you call, the picture of what is going on in the Middle East. I'll just give a quick preview, then I will jump to a little bit about what's going on in Iran, and then we can have a small discussion. So, as things stand, it when the Syrian army came on the side of the Bedouin and started shooting at the Druze town, Sweda, or marching towards Sweda. So you all know that recently there has been the government has been overthrown, and because of that, a bunch of secondary events have taken place. And how was the government overthrown? That's where we need to maybe start a little bit further back. Iran has been supporting Hamas and Hezbollah in Lebanon, and certainly all the weapons and the missiles that they transferred to Hezbollah and the weapons transported to Hamas was through the land corridor in Syria. And Syria was ruled by the Bashar's family, Bashar al-Assad. They are Alawites. Alawites are not, in the strict sense, Sunni or Sufi, but they would say They are more like the Shia. So it's like a fourth category of Muslims. A lot of Muslims would say Alawites are not Muslims. So I'm not trying to confuse anybody here. All I'm saying is that the last 40 plus years, Syria was ruled by the Alawites. And when the Alawites ruled Syria, there was a lot of persecution of minorities. And there was a civil war. It lasted almost 14 years. The current leader of Syria was an ISIS fighter who said, we need to overthrow the Alawite. And there's been a lot of violence now done to the Alawites. So remember, the majority are Sunni. Alawites ruled that country. And currently, there is a president who was kind of a terrorist kind of a person, but who comes to the leadership of Syria and says, we need peace with Israel. And he has been trying to work this out. Obviously, there are gangs. These gangs helped him to come to power. So there is one argument saying that it is one of these gangs working with the Bedouin that attacked the Druze person. It's not an argument. I'm talking, one report says that. And one of those gangs got the Syrian military to come on behalf of the Druze. So Druze are also, like the Alawites, a very peculiar branch of Islam, according to me. And Muslims would say, no, Druze are not Muslims. So I'm not trying to argue any of it. All I'm trying to say is that the Druze are in Syria. There is a good number of people in Israel and a certain number of people in Jordan. And the Druze generally side with Israel. And they have a good, I don't want to use the word military, paramilitary, but Druze form a fighting regiment with Israel. So they certainly asked Israel to say, help us. Guess what happened? Israelis immediately bombed the army headquarters in Syrian capital, Damascus. Now, I'm pretty sure this is not going to become a major conflict, and I'll tell you my reason in a minute. But I want to make a very important comparison with some other country. I know some of our Muslim friends, when they listen to it, I want them to think. I don't want you to get upset by what I'm going to say. See, the West owes a lot to the growth of Islamic sciences, the number system. There's a lot of things the West owes. But one thing I want you to acknowledge is that in the Islamic countries, they still have not developed what I call the democratic traditions or arguing the ideas. So, nation state, as we call it, multiple groups coming together in a nation and a state, having elections. This is the tradition well over 300, 400 years in the West. Either it is Canada or Australia or the United States or England or France or Germany, whatever. And every society have struggled with people who have tried to overthrow the existing order. I'm not arguing that it has not happened in the West. But one thing, what I want to explain to you, all of you, those who are listening, the great expectation of the Iranian Revolution was, according to Khomeini, the previous ruler of Iran, basically said, we are going to establish God's government on earth. So this is my question that I want to ask you. All these religious leaders seem to promise something. After Khomeini has been trying to do it. He surrounded Israel with the ring of fire. I told you, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Syrians, and the Iranians, and then the Houthis. And Israel has taken out most of them. On top of it, they have bloodied the nose of the Iranian regime. So one thing I want to make sure we understand is in Iran, when Afghanistan was falling apart, about 3-4 million Afghan people came into Iran. When the attack occurred, Israel launched the attack on Iran. They sent back all these Muslims, and they are in trouble because lots of people are basically saying, we don't even know what Afghanistan is because we were born in Iran. Sure, our parents are from Afghanistan. And Afghanistan is also like Syria because Pashtun, it's a what do you call a group of people who occupy one part of Afghanistan. Then there is the Hazaras, the Tajiks. There are so many people groups in Afghanistan. And I think I'm saying this from my memory. A lot of the people who were in Iran were Baluchis. And so there's a major immigration crisis going on. Remember, this is oppression by Shia of the Sunni. So none of these things are reported by the media. America invested a lot of money to build a democratic society in Afghanistan. You know what happened during the Biden administration, right? And after investing all the money, it's all gone. And Taliban has come back and they are ruling Kabul. And Kabul now, United Nations says that in 2030 would be the first city that might be the large capital, one of the first cities among the large capitals of the world. It will run out of water. Think about it. 5 years from now, and the world doesn't seem to care. And my question to my friends, especially those who hold on to the Islamic tradition, is I'm not talking about Afghanistan. I want to point out something very, very important. Think through what you believe. Here is my question. Like Afghanistan, there is a neighbor to Israel facing the same problems. The difference between Afghanistan and Syria is that Syria has got some oil resources. Afghanistan has got rare metals and rare earth, lots of things, but you can't get there because they will shoot you and kill you. So developing an economic society is a distant dream. Americans realized it and they said, "Oh, it's not worth keeping pumping money." So there is something about people groups I want you to understand. And Syria is moving to a crisis. What is very interesting about this crisis, and that is what I want to talk to my Muslim friends about. The difference between the Bible and the Quran is I want to explain this carefully. Bible is not one book, it's a library of books. Okay? The 39 books in the Old Testament belongs to the Jewish people. In fact, Quran borrows a lot from that Old Testament, whether you call him Abraham or Yaqub, or whether you call him Suleiman or Dawood, or whatever name you give in the Quran, they are all prophets from the Old Testament. Out of the 39 books, one book I want to point out was written about 700 years before Jesus was born. It's called the book of Isaiah. Isaiah has got a chapter, the 17th chapter of Isaiah talks about the tragic end of Damascus. I'm going to connect the dots, as Kumar basically said. Just maybe, at the beginning of this session. I connect the dots because I want you to connect the dots. Here are the dots. You're born once and you will die once. All the three religions, whether it's Judaism or Christianity or Islam, they all say, and then you will face judgment. So this is where I want to explain to my Muslim friends, brothers and sisters of the Islamic faith, here is what I'm telling you. Isaiah chapter 17 talks about the destruction of Damascus. It was written 2,700 years back. Are we heading to those days? Something is going on in the Islamic world. Unfortunately, you don't know. Bible lays out a clear eschatological at the end of times. These are the events. And Bible has got very specific things to say. So that is why pay attention to what the Bible says. In fact, the Quran tells you should read and ask your questions to the people of the book. So make that a new habit. Is that a good place, Kumar, to stop?
I thought you were going to finish up the whole
Oh, you want me
thought
to?
there.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So this is where, with the Druze being supported by Israel, it looks as though Syria might head the way Afghanistan is going. That is the thought. I'm not sure I want to connect that dot because I still want hope for Syria because Syrians are great people. That's what I think. Unfortunately, they've gone through some tragic times in the last 14 years. And like the Israelis address the Iranians. Iranians are a great people, but they have bad leaders. IRGC, it is the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, is literally ruined the country. And as Israel has said it very clearly, we are not going to allow in our neighborhood somebody who's claiming that they're going to destroy, wipe Israel off the map. And that is what they were saying. So
Mm.
something is going on in the Islamic world. And why do I say that? And I'll connect the dot, the last dot for today at least, is that there are people who theorize the fact that Saudi Arabia and Israel was going to have a normalization of ties, like the Abraham Accord when Trump was the president last time. That is what the fear that Saudi and Israel are going to get together is what prompted Hamas to launch and Iran to do all this. Whatever has launched, the tragedy of the Palestinian people, nobody can deny. They've suffered a lot. Now, this is what I would tell everyone. Even as they suffered, I want to talk about the suffering of one man, the man who died on the cross. Nobody has suffered like him. And his suffering gives us substitutionary benefits. In other words, he tells very clearly there is life after this life. Death is not the end of the story. And only through Jesus, that's why I love to study this book. This is my Bible. And I'm open to Isaiah 70, the prophecy about Damascus. Anyway, Kumar, that's not what you want me to do. You want me to connect all these dots. What I'm trying to explain to everyone is this. When Jesus finished his earthly life, he said clearly, I will overcome death. I know the Quran does not believe Jesus was crucified. Therefore, I don't know how you believe that he's going to come back. But the disciples of Jesus knew one day he will come back. So the second coming of Jesus is the great hope of the Christian. I know some of you are going to say, oh, he will come back when Mahdi comes. No, that is not in the Quran. That's what I want to explain to you. So that's why I'm saying, learn to think through what you believe and ask the question, why do you believe? It's all yours, Kumar.
And I just want to point out, I just wanted to point out, Damascus is the capital of Syria, right?
Yes,
Just for clarity, so that no, we can go back and refer to Isaiah chapter
17.
70. Yes.
And some historians, and I support that, believe that the oldest continually dwelt city in the world is Damascus.
Mm.
It's one of the most ancient cities, even in the Middle East. Some people say it's Cairo. I mean, I'm not going to argue some of these things, you know.
That was informative. Yes. Yeah. I think with the being on YouTube, I think this is one of our first introductions
Really?
to people there live. So I think they're going to have more questions, and we will come back with more topics and yeah, discussions. Yes, Catherine, do you have any questions?
Um, I wanted to ask you something about what you were explaining in the beginning. When you were talking about the events that have just transpired in Syria. Syria is a very complicated country. Is that kind of fair to say that?
But it is. It is.
Trying to understand. So what I heard, and so where am I missing this? What I heard was an event where you talked about a Druid being attacked by a Bedouin. The Druid people generally favor, oh, have I missed it already?
Yes, yes. So the Druids are people who had a certain faith system out of England. These are Druze, Druze.
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 Druze. And I
Yes.
said Druid. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Druze.
yeah.
All right. And you said that they have generally been supporters of Israel.
Yes,
And they were
yes.
attacked by the Bedouin, this Bedouin person, who was then supported by the Syrian army. Now, the Syrian army, the current leader, has also spoken of keeping peace with Israel. So that the attacking, sort of, they're on the same side of Israel, but they're attacking one another?
So no, no. Maybe I need to clarify that. It's a good question. First of all, it is like saying that the Druze are Anglicans who are people out of Great Britain who went to Africa, or they look to the Archbishop of Canterbury as their head. But each local, so there are Druze in Lebanon, there are Druze in Jordan. There is a sizable number in Golan Heights, and that is where this events are taking place. Suwaida is a southern province of Syria. So I don't know. I just read a report saying that a Druze gentleman was on his way from Damascus to Suwaida on the highway. He was robbed. And usually, when you get robbed, you have something worth stealing, right? I mean, that means you are a person of power and influence. So I'm sure he contacted his Druze brethren and it became a real gun battle. So when the gun battle started, the Bedou, or Bedouin as I like to say, are people who belong to no particular state. Uh, Even though they are Syrians, the Bedou can easily be members of the Jordanian or the Saudi, or they are people of the desert. They don't obey the government's law, and usually the Bedou know that even the military doesn't want to mess with them. So I'm pretty sure they were surprised. The Druze fought back as though they have abilities like a military. So this Bedou group, I'm sure, was connected with some kind of this civil war, and they might have had contacts with the Syrian army. So they called their friends and said, "Come help us." So I'm sure it was a set of events, accidents that set off these events. The leader of Syria is not looking to fight Israel. So, but as it escalated, Israel went and bombed the military headquarters in Damascus. In other words, they were telling very clearly and very seriously, don't escalate this fight. We will hit you hard. That's what Israel is telling. Now, Israel did that a couple of years back. I don't know whether anybody remembers this. There were some Iranian IRGC, two very important people in a building just uh, connected. It is a attachment to the Iranian embassy. They were assassinated, or they launched an attack. Israel has got secret service that has penetrated Iran like crazy. So at that time, it was a big shock. And that's how Iran escalated the fight.
Mm.
That you cannot kill people in an embassy, which is the right thing. But Iranians don't obey any of the laws. They are a law unto themselves, international law. They are the biggest supporters of terrorism in the world at this point of time is Iran. That's what I would say. So anyway, I'm coming back to scale back. This is like the assassination of the Archduke of in Sarajevo, which started the First World War. When the First World War started, all the people who went to the battle thought the battle will end in 6 weeks, maximum 3 months. So sometimes events take a shape of their own. I hope that's not the story here.
Mm. You compared, you took time to do quite a few comparisons between Syria and
Afghanistan.
like Afghanistan, and which most of us at least understand is another extremely complicated, difficult country, and maybe for us to really understand all the different factions and groups that are working here, there, and everywhere. You made a statement and you said by no means were you saying that this was about to happen, but you said you would not want to see Syria go the way of Afghanistan. Could you explain
Afghanistan.
what you mean by that? What do you mean? The way of Afghanistan as opposed to the way of Syria? Some of us on this part of the world don't actually know the difference between what's going on in Afghanistan and what's going on
Okay.
in Syria.
So there was a time when there was a revolution in Afghanistan. I think it was 77, 79, 1979. And at that point of time, if I remember correctly, and I'm pretty sure it is 79, the government there where they were feeling threatened. I forget the name, but it'll come to my mind. So they asked Soviet Union to come and help them. So in 1979, Soviet sent their armies into Afghanistan. So 79 to 89, when the Soviets were trying to help the central government in Afghanistan, it became a major civil war. What happened was, it was the fall of Soviet Union from 79 to 89. Now, we know that, and this is why I want those who are listening to pay attention to what I'm going to say next. Bible clearly tells this is how the end of history approaches. So whether you believe it or not, the Bible says Soviet Union, the ex-Soviet Union, now is Russia, will be drawn into Syria. So that is the big, connecting the big dot. So that's why I'm saying people don't understand how carefully God is moving the chess pieces. So if Afghanistan could bring the downfall of Soviet Union and make it Russia, unfortunately, it is clearly written in the book of Ezekiel. I did not quote Ezekiel so far. It's another book in the Old Testament. Clearly says, I will put a hook into this entity and bring it. And I think it is Lebanon and Syria that would be the focus of this. So events are happening in a way, I'm sitting there saying, as a follower of Jesus, I'm saying, wow, this seems no accident. That's what I would say. Now, Kumar and Sister Catherine, I introduced a lot more information, which I was not planning to. We can focus on it on the next session if you want.
That is awesome. Yeah. I think that's the way we roll, right?
Yeah, that's the
Matthew
way we
always
roll.
puts a hook on to a topic which nobody has heard of, and then we go on a different rabbit trail there. Yeah.
Yeah, very
And
true.
okay, so we'll keep the hold that thought and come back to our next no next session on that conversation. Yeah. So unless you have any other questions, Catherine, maybe we can end this call. It's been 30 minutes, and I just wanted to stay within our 30 minutes in YouTube. And for the viewers, we'll definitely have it posted on our Facebook group. Facebook group is Understanding Worldviews, and here in YouTube, it shows up as Mark and Matthews Movement, but then it's under SGA Ministries. Yeah. So uh, be sure to subscribe to our channel so that you can listen to us, and we'll get back to you in the next few days. Yep. We'll talk to you soon.